Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Long time no see. Obviously, as you can tell, I have my newborn here. She's nearly 6 weeks old. And yeah, it's been a little while since I've uploaded anything to YouTube, and that's mainly just because there's so much that's been going on lately. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted my first video to be, but I settled eventually on talking a little bit about my birth experience. For today, I'm not going to be talking about my full birth story. That's a video that I may or may not do a little bit further down the line. So as some of you may know, I actually was originally down to have a planned C-section for the birth. However, last minute, things completely took a U-turn. They did a full 180. I actually gave birth naturally in the end, which completely was not expected. I did have to be induced. I had to have something called an episiotomy. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with what an episiotomy is, but basically, if you're not familiar, an episiotomy is a cut that they will make. It's in your foo-foo area, obviously. Pushing is not easy going anyway. Trying to push a baby out is not easy. Don't expect it to be easy. But there was a bit of difficulty. I don't know whether it was a bit of muscle or something. Something was actually preventing Ellie's head from coming out properly. That is why they then decided to perform the episiotomy, because I wasn't under any kind of pain relief during this time in my labour. They waited for when I had a contraction, and then during the contraction, that's when they cut me. They couldn't cut it easily, and I could really feel them like tugging. I think it took them a couple, 2 or 3 contractions actually, to actually properly make the cut. So it wasn't a smooth kind of cut. It was like, you know, I could really feel them. Obviously, I couldn't really feel the pain of it because the pain of the contraction was taking away from the pain of them cutting. Eventually, they made the cut, and that did help. And little Ellie was born not long after they performed the episiotomy actually. I bled quite a lot after the birth, and they weren't actually 100% sure where I was bleeding from. I actually lost a lot of blood during labour. And whilst they were stitching me up, they were trying to figure out where this bleed was. They weren't actually sure if it was internal or not. Luckily it wasn't. That actually led to me fainting. They took a while stitching me up. It wasn't quick. I'm not exactly sure really how long the stitching process was, but yeah, it seemed to take forever. Moving on to the healing. It takes a while to heal from an episiotomy, and it is uncomfortable. Well, in my experience, it was anyways. So as I said, they stitched me up, and the next day I left the hospital after I spent a night in the maternity ward. And when I was discharged from the maternity ward, everything was fine. I was still stitched up. I was bruised. It was hurting, but I was stitched up, and you know, the wound was fine. A couple of days after I was discharged from the maternity ward, I started having problems with the area of the episiotomy. My stitches completely came undone. I think this is actually quite common with an episiotomy wound because it's very, very difficult because of the area that it's in, the stitches. It's difficult to keep it fully clean. It's difficult to keep it dry. It's difficult because the stitches and the area of the cut is constantly rubbing against, for example, your knickers or the pad that you're wearing, because obviously you do bleed a lot after birth anyways. So yeah, it's just not a great area for healing. All of my stitches came out and the wound was open, and I spoke to several different midwives and a few different doctors. I went to the assessment unit, went back to the hospital, and I was given antibiotics because it did get a little bit infected. I was on antibiotics for a week. I was on 2 different kinds of antibiotics, and that did seem to really help. It's just pain. I was in pain walking, I was in pain sitting down, I was in pain laying in bed, standing up. I could not get comfortable. I felt bruised. I was really in pain. Even now, sometimes if I go to sit on the floor like I am now, I can still feel the tenderness. It feels awful when you're trying to go to the toilet. It just feels wrong. Midwives were honest with me in the pregnancy assessment unit. They said, you know, this could take a good 2-3 months, maybe a little bit more, to fully heal. But the first, I would say 3 weeks to a month was quite bad in terms of pain. I was taking just like paracetamols and ibuprofen for the pain, and maybe it would help a little bit, but really I could have done with something a bit stronger. They did offer me codeine, but codeine does make me feel very unwell, so I refused codeine. Finally now, you know, the 5th and 6th week after the birth was really when I started to feel better, and the actual area of the cut started to look a lot better as well. It's no longer an open wound, and it is now healing nicely. It's just, it takes a while, and it can be very uncomfortable, very painful, but long story short is everything is fine, and hopefully my episiotomy will just, you know, the wound will just continue healing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you guys later. Bye.